The music had barely begun to fade when the doors at the back of the grand wedding hall burst open. Every head turned, every smile froze, and for a moment the air itself seemed to stop moving. There, framed by the golden light of the hallway, stood a small boy no older than 9. His little white shirt was wrinkled, his vest half-buttoned, his hair slightly messy, as if he'd run all the way here. But what silenced the room wasn't his intrusion. It was the fragile newborn baby cradled in his left arm wrapped in a thin light blanket. The boy's other hand was trembling yet firm as he pointed toward the groom standing at the altar. "You're the reason my baby sister doesn't have a home," he shouted, voice cracking with both fear and fury. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The bride's smile faded, her hands instinctively clutching her veil. And the groom? He simply froze as if the walls around him were closing in. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of truth, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, where stories of the heart remind us what truly matters. The guest stood motionless, torn between disbelief and pity. The groom, Nathan Pierce, a young polished man in a navy blue suit, had spent the morning telling everyone this was the happiest day of his life. But now, staring at the boy with the trembling voice, he looked pale, hollow, and lost. The bride, Claire, still in her lace gown, stared in shock, her dream wedding unraveling before her eyes. The little boy's name was Oliver, though no one knew it yet, and his steps toward the altar were hesitant but determined. Behind him, a few late guests peeked in, unsure whether to intervene or witness what felt like something sacred, tragic, and raw unfolding in real time. Oliver less than greater than, small shoes echoed faintly on the marble floor as he stopped just a few feet from the couple. The baby stirred in his arms, a soft whimper escaping its lips. His lower lip quivered, but he didn't back down. The truth he carried had been weighing on him for days, truth his mother had whispered through tears, truth he couldn't unhear. His mother, Grace, had once worked for Nathan before his engagement to Claire, cleaning offices late at night. Sometimes bringing little Oliver with her because she couldn't afford a sitter. Nathan had been kind at first, offering her rides home, warm coffee, gentle words. But that kindness had turned into something else, something Grace never wanted to talk about until recently when her health began to fade, and the baby in her arms became a reminder of both love and betrayal. For months, she'd begged Nathan to help her, to at least meet the child he had fathered. But he had cut all ties, blocking her number, pretending she never existed. He was starting a new life, one where mistakes could be buried under vows and photographs. Grace had told Oliver about his baby sister, about the men who once promised to help but turned away. And though she tried to stop him, the boy's heart couldn't bear watching his mother fade while the men responsible was celebrating under chandeliers. So he ran. He ran all the way from their small apartment, clutching the baby close, following the sound of music and bells that seemed to mock everything he knew. When Oliver spoke again, his voice cracked with emotion. "My mom's in the hospital," he said softly, eyes glistening. "She told me to tell you she forgives you, even if you don't love us." The silence that followed was unbearable. Guests shifted, some covering their mouths, others whispering prayers. Claire's face turned pale. She looked from the boy to her fiancé, searching for denial, for explanation. But Nathan said nothing. His hands trembled at his sides, his jaw clenched. Tears brimmed in his eyes, as if the walls he'd built were collapsing in front of everyone. Slowly, he took a step forward. The crowd parted, and even the music had long since died. Nathan's mind flooded with memories. Late nights at the office, the sound of Grace's laughter, her eyes filled with warmth before guilt. Replaced them. He told himself he was too young to be a father, too busy building his future. He'd buried the truth under layers of ambition and comfort. But now, as he looked at Oliver, standing there with the baby, he refused to acknowledge, shame twisted like a knife inside him. He knelt. He tried to speak, but his voice broke. The weight of every choice he made pressed down until he could barely breathe. Claire stepped back, her heart pounding, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Is it true?" she whispered. But Nathan couldn't answer. He didn't have to. The truth was written all over his face. For a moment, the world seemed to crumble. The decorated arch, the smiling guests, the future they'd planned. All of it collapsing into a silence only broken by the soft coo of the baby in Oliver less than greater than arms. The boy's eyes softened. He didn't come for revenge, only for honesty. His mother's words echoed in his mind. People make mistakes, Ollie. But sometimes they need to see the hurt they caused before they can make it right. Nathan reached out slowly, his hand shaking, and gently touched the baby's tiny hand. The child stirred, gripping his finger instinctively. The crowd watched in breathless quiet as a single tear slid down Nathan's cheek. "I'm sorry," he whispered, voice trembling. "I'm so sorry." Oliver stood silently, eyes wet but steady. For the first time, the anger in his little chest began to ease. He didn't know if this man could ever make things right, but seeing his regret meant the truth had finally broken through. Nathan turned toward Claire, his heart heavy with shame. He expected her to leave, to run, to never look back. But instead, she looked at Oliver, then at the baby, and took a deep, trembling breath. "Bring your mother home," she said quietly. "We'll help her." Her words weren't loud, but they rippled through every heart in the room like a prayer. The audience stood still, moved not by scandal, but by forgiveness. Nathan nodded, tears streaming freely now as the guests lowered their heads in silent awe. The boy didn't smile, but there was peace in his eyes. The kind that comes when truth finally finds light. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, where true compassion and courage still matter. Before the end, please comment below. Would you forgive someone who hurt you if they truly regretted it? As the music resumed softly and the guests began to disperse, Nathan walked with Oliver down the aisle, not toward a perfect future, but toward redemption. In his arms, the baby stirred again, safe for the first time in a long while. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by broken vows and mended hearts, a man who once ran from love, finally found it waiting in the hands of a child who refused to give up.